As a social worker, do you ever wonder how you can become a better practitioner? Well, the first step is in improving your interview skills. All social workers need to have certain skills under their belt in order to effectively interview clients. Today, I will inform you about 3 of those key skills. As a social work major, someday I will be interviewing clients at my job, so I really care about this topic because I want to be able to perform that task effectively and efficiently. The 3 skills that I will discuss with you today are how to develop a positive relationship with the client, how to interpret and use nonverbal communication in the interview, and attending behaviors that encourage the client to keep speaking. So let's start by exploring a few of the many ways that a social worker can develop a positive relationship with the client. The first way is by using acceptance. This means you need to keep a non-judgmental attitude, show respect and concern for the client regardless of what they've done or their behavior. It's important to not be moralistic, cold, or disapproving. And really you need to separate the person from the behavior. According to Teresa Swindler, my professor who teaches a social work interviewing class, it is important to remain objective and not impose your own values on the client because they have their own set of values that they follow. The second behavior to develop a positive relationship is by ensuring confidentiality. When you can promise a client that their information will remain confidential, this increases communication and demonstrates that you can be trusted. And also it shows that you respect the client as an individual with rights. According to the National Association of Social Workers Code of Ethics, social workers will respect the privacy of clients and hold in confidence all information obtained in the course of professional service. The next thing to develop a positive relationship is by using empathic understanding. According to Kadushin, this means that you feel with the client rather than for. You understand how the client feels and that you show you understand their point of view. So really you want to be saying, I'm with you, I follow you, I understand how you're feeling about this. The fourth way to develop a positive relationship is by demonstrating warmth, interest, trust, and respect. These 4 things all go hand in hand, and it shows that you have a concern about the client's needs and a readiness to help them. And also it really shows that you care about them besides just what happens in the agency. You care about what happens and where they go with their life after they're done receiving treatment. You can communicate these things by using certain attending behaviors and nonverbal behaviors. Now we'll talk about some of those aspects of nonverbal behavior that may be used in the social work interview. So you might be asking, what exactly is nonverbal communication? According to O'Neill and Earnhardt, nonverbal communication refers to any perceived message one becomes aware of from another person, other than language, written or spoken, that conveys intent or meaning to a receiver. Kadushin says that nonverbal communication helps interpret verbal communication more accurately. There are many different types of nonverbal communication, but I'd only like to discuss 3 with you today. The first one is chronomics, and according to O'Neill and Earnhardt, that's just how we manage and view time. And in different cultures, they view time in different ways. So, as far as how you apply that to your practice, it's important for social workers to be on time to the interview, because, according to Kadushin, lateness suggests to the waiting person that the party who is running late has something more important to do, and you never want to make your clients feel like that. The second thing I'd like to talk about is proxemics. This is the space between people when they're interacting, and that's from O'Neill and Earnhardt. And it varies by culture. For example, African Americans are more likely to stand farther apart when interacting than Caucasians, and Hispanics would be more likely to stand closer than Caucasians. The appropriate interviewer-interviewee distance is 5 to 8 feet, so you can keep that in mind when arranging your office, for example. Kinesics is the study of body language and movement, so that's the 3rd type of nonverbal communication that can be helpful. Kadushin expands that to be movements, gestures, posture, and facial expression. Good interviewing requires that you be a good watcher as well as a good listener. There are 2 different kinds of posture that you can observe with people. The first one would be an open posture that allows access to the body. For example, if I stand with my arms to my side like this, it's very relaxed and it shows that I'm willing to talk to you. A closed posture denies access to the body. For example, some of your clients may cross their arms like this, and that could indicate that they don't want to talk to you about whatever it is you're discussing. The face is also important to look at because it's the site of automatic signals of tension, such as blushing and perspiration. Also, if somebody is saying something that doesn't line up with their facial expression, you might want to examine that further. For example, if your client tells you that they're really happy with their life and everything, but they're crying, then clearly something's amiss. Kadushin also states that people who have control over their facial expression are more able to deceive people. Some general tips concerning eye contact, which is part of kinesics, is you should have direct eye contact with your client in order to offer a sense of intimacy and to develop a positive relationship with the client. But you should avoid direct eye contact when asking highly personal questions because this increases feelings of fear, shame, and guilt. Now that you know a little about nonverbal communication, let's talk about the attending behaviors a social worker can use to show the client that they really care. According to Cummins and Pedrick, social workers must be verbally and nonverbally responsive to clients. It is important for the client to feel listened to and valued. If clients sense a genuine interest on the social worker's part, they will be more open. So, some general attending behaviors can be described by Anderson as basic skills of attending the nonverbal and body language that signal a readiness to listen. Cummins and Pedrick say that it's important to be on time, as we mentioned before. Also, you should remember details from previous meetings to show that you were listening to what they were saying and that you remember them. Also, follow through with any promises that you make. If you say you're going to call an agency for that person, make sure you do that and you can report back to them during the next meeting. The location of the interview is also part of attending, so according to Teresa Swindler, that means minimizing distractions. You should close your blinds so that there's no distraction from the street outside. Shut the radio off. You should have subtle, soothing lighting that's neither too bright nor too dim, so it's not distracting. You should keep all extra pens, pencils, anything that you can play with on your desk, take it off because you don't want to seem impatient to the client. Also, make sure your office phone is on silent or goes straight to voicemail because you wouldn't want the client to be in the middle of discussing something really important with you and then, they're interrupted by the phone. Also, make sure your personal cell phone is off. That's just a matter of courtesy. And the last thing I'd like to say about location is make sure it's a private area. If you have an office that has a door, close it and put an in-session sign on the door. Some nonverbal attending behaviors include eye contact, as we mentioned before. Also, you should have a relaxed, forward-leaning posture. This shows you're interested and engaged in what the person is saying. Also, smile for them. Show them that you're happy to see them. And going back to proxemics, you should allow the client to adjust their chair to a comfortable personal space distance. However, if they decide they want to sit really close to you and you're kind of uncomfortable with that yourself, it's okay for you to subtly move back or politely ask them to back up a little bit because you need to be comfortable as well to conduct a good interview. One more attending behavior I'd like to discuss with you today is called furthering responses. This conveys interest in the client and encourages them to keep talking. According to Teresa Swindler, it's used so you and the client can explore the problem more in depth. You can continue the discussion to the next step, and it helps you as the interviewer to monitor the flow of the interview. So some examples of that are, go on, I see, just anything to keep the client speaking. And they just provide non-invasive support. So these are some of the basic attending behaviors. Now let's sum up everything I've talked about today. Today I gave you some tips on how to develop a positive relationship with your clients, some aspects of nonverbal communication you may encounter, and attending behaviors that you should use in order to conduct a social work interview. These skills all overlap and are essential for being an effective practitioner. Thank you.